is the Seahawkers podcast, episode 384. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and joining me, my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Yeah, man. Through the thick and the thin, because this season, it's going to be like a roller coaster, baby. And we had a little roller coaster this last week. Know a lot of people were pretty upset, but I listened to a little bit of you and Clinton's post-game reaction, and the odd thing is that after watching it, I'd come away with quite a bit, a very different perspective on it. But I'm looking forward to talking to you about it because I think Seahawks fans are a little all over the map.
It's easy to be all over the map after a game like this because, yeah, you could be upset that the Seahawks lost to a division rival in the 49ers because it's a division rival. And it's one thing is I don't think we expected, and I know we talked about it going into this week, was the potential for an emotional letdown after the big win over the Broncos, and Pete was all fired up, and I was saying, no, that can't happen. And even if they were to lose, it's not going to be because of emotions. But then Pete comes out essentially in his coach's show on 710 Sports in Seattle and says, yeah, you know, it was pretty emotional, and I didn't handle that the right way. So even Pete is saying that the emotions maybe got the best of him.
That's what he said in coach speak for sure. Because he definitely wasn't going to tell you how they got beat by their defensive lineman getting turned horizontally rather than being pushed off of the line, and how the exact ways that the run fits weren't working and all that. A lot easier to go on the radio and just be like, yeah, just emotionally drained. They didn't come out with a lack of energy in this game. That was not the problem. That's a BS storyline.
I think that as a coach, though, if you want to protect your players, you can say that you need to do better, which I feel like is the coach thing to do, right? Is to be accountable and say, I could have done things better. And that's why, you know, maybe we didn't perform as well. But the reason for me not being super upset about the loss was because they were so soundly beat in the trenches in this game. It wasn't, I get more upset when there's a game where a couple little things here and there, and you say, man, if they would have just done this play different or made this one play instead of this play. We didn't have that in this game. This was a routing by the 49ers, and I don't have any other way to say it. And so I'm not that upset.
Yeah, I just see this completely differently than you.
You thought it was so
completely
close.
Different.
They were so close to getting that win. If only they would have made two more plays.
No. I'm just saying, like, look, okay, a couple things here. They got routed in the trenches in the first quarter.
Yeah.
From there on, they held their own. I mean, they really took the run game and kept it, manageable. They got freaking gashed the first quarter. Like, I mean, it was embarrassing. That was a joke, no doubt about it. And then from about mid-second quarter on, the defense really improved, I thought, in terms of the line play. Now, the other thing that I took from it was they didn't get dominated because they were getting pushed back like 4 or 5 yards in every run. They were just getting turned the wrong direction. And then the gap discipline wasn't there. So it's not like they just got physically overwhelmed. They got with some scheme here. And also with adapting to your new defensive scheme, you got guys that are still trying to figure it out. And even heard Pete say in his presser, like, it's going to take us longer than we like to get that worked out. And I really didn't see the difference in this game being the trenches overall. The difference in this game was turnovers. End of story. Like that really is the difference in this game. And the funny thing is that one of the turnovers and our blocked kick returned for a touchdown, that's the thing that really skews the time of possession in this entire game too. So there's a lot of stats that you look at and you go, oh, wait a second, but what was the real story behind this? And I just saw it a lot differently than you guys. You guys said we couldn't run the ball at all. I thought Penny, when he got his opportunities, I mean, they were 3-4 yard chunks on the regular. Got stopped a couple times. It happens.
He finished with 2.5 yards per carry, and so did Walker.
Sure. So you get, a couple 3-4 yard chunks, and then you get stopped for a -1, and then you ended up with a 2.5 yards per carry average. You see what I'm saying? Like 2 or 3 decent runs for one bad one, and oh, he's terrible. We couldn't run the ball at all. It's just not true. It's just not true. They just didn't do it. They were throwing the heck out of the ball with Geno.
They were, but they also were
didn't have the ball very much.
They were throwing it efficiently, and they didn't have the ball very much because they weren't converting on third down. So
that's not true either. That is not true either. How many 3-and-outs did they have in the first half?
I'm saying that there were third down conversions that they could have made to extend drives that didn't happen. Let's look at the third down conversion rate for the day. They were 2 of 7. So still, what's that? That's way under 50%. But they only had 7 opportunities for third down conversions, and they made 2. That's not good enough.
Well, they also were converting a lot on second down. Like, the offense wasn't just, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, the offense absolutely stunk in this game. They were freaking terrible. They didn't do anything. I've seen terrible offense. I remember Charlie Whitehurst. I remember that game against Cleveland or watching a team that is totally inept, that can't do anything. And that's not what this offense was in this game. They moved the ball quite a bit and then shot themselves in the foot with turnovers or stupid penalties.
Yeah.
That's very different than this offense stinks.
I never
Those
said
are things
that
that
the
are
offense stinks.
I'm not saying you. Just from what I've been hearing.
Okay. Well, you're playing this as if you saw something completely different than me. Yes, I saw the turnovers. Yes, I saw the penalties. Yes, I only saw 2 whole third down conversions on the entire day by the offense. Not good enough. And okay, let's go back to the defense and saying how they played so much better after, mid second quarter on. Well, I saw the same thing that Pete saw. It's that once they were up by, once they had 20 points on the board, the Seahawks defense knew what they were going to do. They knew that the 49ers were going to run the ball, and so they played the run, and it looked better because that's all the Niners needed to do at that point was run the ball and help run the clock out. And because they could pick up those short chunks and gain time of possessions, they just, burn time off the clock.
Sure. And how did that time of possession come about? Like, what was it? Just because they couldn't stop third down or weren't in position to stop third down? Or was it the fact that you're going to live and die with some rookie mistakes? Or this whole game was a learning game. Like, there was at least two big drives that were continued on
penalties,
defensive pass interference calls. And, you had Lucas blow up a drive or two with 2 penalties. The one right at the end of half, kicks him out of field goal range with, I think it was a false start. I can go back and look at the notes, but the rookies really cost you. And the old saying, every rookie you start costs you a game. I mean, there's a little something to that. But also the time of possession thing, think about it here. So they stopped the Niners late in the second, punt it to Tyler. The unfortunate block into the returner, fumble, turnover. Niners get the ball back, end up scoring on a short field, take a lot of time off the clock. And then I believe the next drive was the 2-minute drive that Geno had at the end of half, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's one possession just gone. Like you just didn't get a possession there because of the fumble at all. Defense is on the field back to back now in one play, getting more wore out. They get to midfield. Lucas commits a penalty, go to halftime. Niners get the ball to start the half. Take it all the way down the field, block the field goal. Touchdown. Hooray. But then the Niners get the ball right back. And then on another drive that's extended by penalties that I think were penalties, but they were on the line. But I can totally see how they called them. I'm not mad about it. They drive all the way down the field again. Offense doesn't get the ball again until there's a minute left in the third. Basically for almost a full quarter, the offense didn't touch the ball because of a turnover and a block kick. They're just 2 possessions they just didn't get.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's fine. If you really want to go in depth in terms of the time of possession being as lopsided as it was, I don't think time of possession is what lost the game. It's what lost the game was not being able to run the ball enough, not being able to convert on third down, not, screwing up and making those penalties in key moments. And I don't I don't know what Pete Carroll and the defense are going to have to do to fix this. But if the NFL is going to call consistently underthrown passes as pass interference, either offenses are just going to run their burners down the field and then have them turn around and come back and run into the corner to catch the pass, or the NFL is going to have to change how they call these plays.
Well, they've been calling it like this for years. It's the Derek Carr. I mean, it's what this isn't a new phenomenon.
Why are we running this more? Why don't we run DK down as a burner and then have him come back toward the football and just run into the DB? And because he's more physically imposing than any of the DBs that he's going to be up against, he's just going to be able to bump into them, and it's going to create a pass interference.
I mean, it's a great question. It's cheap football, but I mean, yeah.
Instead, instead on 3rd down and 12, we're sending our wide receivers deep and then throwing it out to Ken Walker for a 2-yard gain.
And I think Pete talked about that a little bit in the way that they kind of neutered Geno at times throughout this game. But then again, he threw the ball a ton. So my real problem was that they didn't run the ball enough. It wasn't that it couldn't have been all that effective or any of that. It's just they didn't run the ball enough, and that was a problem. And part of it was because they didn't have the ball enough, which is turnovers. Like, I mean, the third part, the third down stuff, fine, all that. Like, I get all that, and it's all stuff that's fixable. But to me, this game all came down to the turnovers. I mean, think about how many points came off the board just with turnovers, or even opportunities at points. And with all three of those turnovers, even with their better quarterback coming into the game, which I think we need to talk about a little bit, they were only up late in the freaking game 13 measly points. They were so much better.
Who is so much better?
Oh, the Niners. Like, just everybody. Oh, they bludgeoned the hell out of us. Look at the score, 27-7. It's like, okay, they got one at the end of the game when it didn't matter anymore. And fine. And we almost stopped them on the goal line there anyways. It took them all the way to 4th down.
Well, but for me, I never felt like, even when it was 13 points, I wasn't thinking, oh, here comes Geno. It's going to be the comeback. Now, when they got the turnover and the blocked field goal, I thought, oh, well, okay, maybe we have a chance to make it interesting. But I just got the sense that the 49ers, once they had gotten up, that they were just kind of coasting because they weren't using Debo the same way that they were using him early on. I don't think it was because the Seahawks figured anything out. I just thought that the Niners went away from that because they saw their quarterback get injured. They don't want to see their best running back get injured, and Samuel. So, yeah, you probably want to protect some of those guys once you have that kind of a lead.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
And I know what you're saying about Lance. As soon as he went down, I thought, oh, crap, the 49ers have a way better chance at winning this game now.
Way better chance at winning this game.
In fact, I think that, sorry, NFC West, but now we've put the Niners in position to win the division.
Yeah, we'll see.
Who else is going to win it? The Rams look terrible.
Anybody?
The Cardinals are terrible.
And the Niners aren't that good. They are not that good. They got 3 freaking turnovers and barely beat a team starting a crap ton of rookies coming off a big emotional win in the whole 9.
You can't say barely beat when they won by 20. Those turnovers count.
They were only up by 13 going into the last couple minutes of the game. Whoop-de freaking do. After those 3 turnovers, they should have been up by 40.
And Seattle couldn't make a stop on that last drive and let them get into the end zone.
I don't care. I don't care at that point. And one of the things that you said is, once they were down that much, you didn't feel real great about their chances of coming back. And I don't blame you there. That's not what this team is built for. Like, if they get down in a hurry early, it's going to be a lot of these. Well,
especially if they get away from the run. I would have been, even with them down 13, I would have been fine with the run pass scenario that everybody hates so much because it was wet weather. I believe in the running backs as a way to get back in the game. Even when you're only down 13, I think that there's probably going to be more open holes unless, it depends on the way that the defense was playing them. They did have their strong safety up in the box more often than not, I felt, as a way
Not according to Pete.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, no, they played off the whole game.
Huh.
That's why we're not going deep.
Yeah. I thought that I saw Hufanga a lot up close to the line.
Some of the other concerns that I had about this game, like everybody's talking about the trenches. I don't think it was that mismatch considering how great that front seven is of the Niners defense. I mean, the offensive line pass protected pretty well, and the few chances they had overall, they ran block fine. I mean, it's not like they just got destroyed. There's a couple times there where they just decided scheme wise to just not block Bosa. That's dumb. Like that, I'm more concerned about that. Defensively, I'm less concerned about the D line. I'm more concerned about the fact that Barton and Brooks look like a disaster in coverage. Like the TD to Dwelly, like they just were like, yeah, okay, see you later, and just let him run downfield, completely uncovered.
I feel like Shanahan schemes things up where you see that consistently once per game, no matter who they're playing, though.
True. And that was one of the plays that Jimmy had made in the game where I was like, yeah, Trey probably makes that one. But there were 4 other third down conversions from Jimmy on throws that I saw throughout the game. I charted them. Mm-hmm. And of those 4, 3 of them Trey doesn't make. They were tight windows or rhythm throws and things like that. And the Seahawks probably would have gotten off the field. And then the catfishing announcers in this game. Oh my God. Like, oh, Trey Lance went out. Shanahan had to change the entire thing. They have to draw 80% of the playbook. Bullshit. Catfish. Bullshit. Catfish. The run plays are all the same run plays. Uh-huh. And not only that, Shanahan's clueless to call plays for Jimmy G. Like, I just don't think that's true. I mean, he's had Jimmy forever.
Yeah,
like the idea that
those
he didn't
years
know
and
what
years
to
of
do.
history don't go away, and those plays that Jimmy knows that Kyle has known that Jimmy can run don't go away.
Right, and so I think overall Trey going out was a bigger problem for the Seahawks. They prepared all week to face Trey Lance.
They did, but you heard from Pete also that they did prepare to face Jimmy, knowing that he could come in at any time. And, maybe if the rookie was playing bad, that they would see him anyway. I think that they did prepare for either one. I just don't know if they played Jimmy as well as they could have, because I felt, a lot like you were saying with the linebackers and coverage. I felt like they could have put more pressure on Jimmy with the defense. And I felt like they were waiting for him to make a mistake rather than pressuring him into making a mistake.
Well, there was a number of pressures. They were blitzing a fair amount.
Yeah.
There was a few free guys. He got the ball out of his hands quickly, a la Tom Brady, and he hit some stuff outside of the numbers. He must have practiced this offseason despite having a bad shoulder.
Yeah. All by himself too. And the secondary field, like you heard reporters talk about.
Yeah.
He just needed some alone time this offseason.
Sometimes some alone time is good for you, but I really thought, to me, that really hampered their defensive game plan just with a different quarterback. I mean, sure, they prepared as if Jimmy was going to come in some. Okay, I'm sure they put 90% of the prep towards Trey, 10% towards Jimmy.
Sure, they probably didn't need to prep a ton because, they know they're so familiar with Jimmy.
Right. I think this is a good time to say, too, like, bummed out for Trey Lance.
Yeah,
I am bummed out for Trey Lance.
I know.
Good guy. And wouldn't wish that on nobody. And I hope he heals up really well, really quickly, man. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, I want him to come back and be below average compared to Jimmy, so we have a better chance at beating the Niners next time.
I promise you the next game is not going to look anything like this one.
Well, we'll see. It is going to depend on the turnovers. What turnover was worse to you? Was it
DJ Dallas?
Just in terms of execution, or I'm talking about in terms of where it happened in the game too?
Where it happened in the game, how it happened. Like, my biggest problem with the offensive game plan this week wasn't that they didn't run it enough or any of that stuff. They got too damn cute. I mean, a flea flicker to throw it down to DK. Now, while he made a miraculous catch to make it work out, still got called back by the Lucas penalty, right?
Right.
Which he'll never do again. He'll never go downfield like that again. But I was just like, really? This is where we're at? Flea flickers? I don't think we need to be there. And then they come out with the freaking Wildcat. The Wildcat. This died in '08 or whatever it was that the Dolphins surprised the Patriots. Like, it took the league about 6 weeks to be like, oh, this is what you do. Like, then they, not only that, but they run the Wildcat once to set up a halfback option pass after Geno had just hit a big pass going down the field so that DJ Dallas could throw a duck 15 yards short. Just points off the board, momentum, all of that. That one was a killer. I hated that. I hated it. Now, here's the thing. If it would have worked, I bet we all would have been like, oh, how creative. That was really fun. Blah, blah, blah. But it didn't. It sucked balls. So I hated it.
Well, it was so bad that you wondered if they actually practiced that before running it. And I have to know, like, they knew that DJ Dallas could throw a football because it looked like DJ can't throw at all. As an NFL player, if you can't get the ball, I don't know, 5 yards without it looking real wobbly, that's pretty bad. If he just throws it high, DK can jump up and make that play. But he didn't even make it to I don't know if the pass made it to the goal line.
It was just short, I think. And he's 0 for 2 in college throwing the football. So it's not like he was awesome at it then.
So what are we doing?
I don't know. Cute. That was the one that pissed me off. That one made me mad.
Yeah.
But overall, when I was looking at this, and maybe it's the fact that I didn't have the opportunity to watch it live because I was getting my ass kicked in the mill on a really difficult job, as hard as the Seahawks were. And I didn't get to watch it until Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
And maybe knowing the outcome, knowing what the storylines already kind of were, I hadn't watched the highlights or anything. Like, I wanted to try to keep it as fresh as possible.
Right.
I wasn't nearly as angry in real time. Maybe maybe that helped. I don't know. But to me, looking at it all and everything, I came away from that being like, that was a learning game, and we're gonna have lots of those. It's a very young team, lots of change, and it's a little bit of what the Broncos are going through, right? With a lot of change and trying to figure things out and all of that. It's not easy. It's not easy.
No, and I do want to talk a little bit of Broncos later on. There's things that we have to talk about there, especially since our draft pick depends on it, right?
I have a Bronco Jared story to share with everybody because we went on that job together, and we'll throw that in on a little bit of Broncos talk because there's some Schadenfreude in talking Broncos right now for sure. I'm not afraid to admit it.
I want to go back to the Tyler Lockett turnover though, because he had his own man blocked into him, created a turnover. I saw some people out there wondering if that was even legal. And yes, you heard Pete Carroll say it. You heard Tyler Lockett say it. Yes, you can do that. Look, if it were to happen, if our Seahawks on special teams were to do that to the 49ers and block it into their guy and create a turnover, we would think that that was the most awesome thing ever. But because it feels so terrible to see that happen, you're like, come on, they can't do that. That shouldn't be legal. No.
Dude, got to block better. You got to block better. You can't just get bum rushed like that. It was just unfortunate. I mean, sometimes things happen in football, and this team felt like this just wasn't their day too. Like, there's those NFL gods days where they're just like, not you. You're getting a little bit of a beat down today. So enjoy this.
Or you're going to have 10 penalties called on you and the other team only one.
It was sloppy. And a lot of those penalties were rookie penalties. So that's tough. And it's going to take some time.
And the Niners had a huge penalty day against the Bears, so that had to have been a focus for them then coming into this week against the Seahawks.
Well, that's kind of how those things even out over the course of a season, right? Like, I'm sure Niners fans were all like, oh, we got screwed by the refs all through the game in Chicago. I mean, 10 penalties, and Chicago only had however many, and like people do.
They talk,
and I'm sure there's Seahawks fans doing that right now about this game.
Yeah.
Thing is this stuff levels out over time. And so this is one of those games for the Niners that level that out a little bit.
Although I would like to see Nwosu held a little bit less by our opponents.
That would be nice. But it's about all they got because he looks damn good.
As far as acquisitions go in the offseason, Nwosu's been good. Mike Jackson has been solid. Obviously, picking up the scoring the only points on the day for the team, coming off the Woolen block. That was a really athletic play by Woolen to get that field goal block.
That was some Avatar right there. He was an edge bender on that one.
Avatar, Matrix. Yeah, you could work both of those in there somehow.
Absolutely. Well, isn't that what they call him? The Avatar?
The Avatar, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he is the Madden Avatar player that you would create if
Oh, I thought it was based off of the cartoon series Avatar, where like guys just have special powers. Like you can make the earth do things, the water do things, the air do things.
It could be a little bit of both.
They're like an earth bender, a fire bender. That's why an edge bender was a good joke that you didn't get. So screw you.
I never watched Avatar. My kids were never into it.
Oh, really? Out of all the young children cartoons that I had to watch when my daughter was growing up, that was easily my favorite. It was pretty well done, I thought.
Yeah. No, I'm in the Bluey stage with my youngest right now. So
I don't even know what that is.
It's actually a pretty solid cartoon.
Is it like a spinoff of Blue's Clues or?
No, I don't think so.
Fair enough. Okay.
All right. So we got to watch a little bit of Woolen on the defensive side of the ball as far as rookie performances go. On the offensive side, we mentioned Lucas mostly in terms of the penalties, but we did overall say that we liked some of the pass blocking. How about Charles Cross?
Yeah, that was a game that I thought he performed fine against a difficult defense.
One pressure on the day he gave up.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think, and no penalties.
Yeah.
And so I think hats off to him, right? Like we glow up Lucas when he has a good game against the Broncos. Not that he had a terrible game here against the Niners, but you know, some penalties that you're going to have to work on. And again, rookie stuff. I'm fine with it. But Cross, he had himself a very fine day, and I was very proud and excited about that. I do believe he is the left tackle of the future. They've struck gold. They've struck gold with those two guys.
I'm feeling good about both of them for sure. I mean, especially to get a guy in the third round with Lucas. I think part of that is why maybe we would come across a little bit more excited about Lucas, because you have a guy that you got relatively late in comparison. Usually you don't get guys in the third round that come in and start game one at either tackle spot. And top 10
have dominant moments. Yeah.
And then top 10, you're kind of expected. It's expected of you, but also not always the case though, when it comes to those top 10 left tackle picks. I mean, you've seen guys over the years where, the expectation is there, and then 2-3 years down the road and they're out of the league. And we're not seeing that with Cross.
No, not so far. And very excited about that. I mean, despite Woolen's up and down play a little bit this game, still a lot to be excited for there, because like you said, how do you expect a guy from that tiny of a school with that little bit of experience to be drafted that late, to be a contributor, like a real contributor? I don't think you do. He certainly looks better than Kobe out there.
That was the other thing I was going to say. Kobe was drafted before him, and I've been more excited about what I've seen from Woolen than I have Bryant.
Yeah, I would agree.
On the defense, though, going back to that side of the ball, as excited as I have been about what Nwosu's done so far, man, interior-wise, I'm excited about what we've seen from Al Woods. Mm-hmm. But where has Poona Ford been? And Darrell Taylor did not have a great game either.
No, he looks to be stuck on one move, is kind of what it looks like to me. Just kind of the speed rush, and that's kind of it. And you saw the Broncos take a lot of advantage of that in their game, where he was tearing upfield and then throwing right in behind him, and that sort of thing. And the Niners caught that a little bit too. A little bit disappointing there so far. Not that I'm too terribly worried, but more than that is just freaking tackling, man. I mean, how many of those runs that we got gashed on were, I think it's something like 90% of the San Francisco yards came after contact in the run game. You got to get dudes down, man. Like Taylor had Debo in the backfield on the 50-yarder.
I know. And part
I
of
know
that,
it's Debo,
it happens with Debo, but at the same time, you have to get enough of them to where you can get enough of your other teammates around to gang up and make that tackle.
Yeah.
Especially when you get a hand on them in the backfield.
And honestly, if you talk about emotional letdowns and energy and things like that, I felt Diggs was super low energy in this game.
I thought there were some moments where there were plays to be made that he was not quite in position. I don't think he had a terrible day. I don't know if I get on Diggs too much based on some of the other performances, but yeah.
Yeah, that's not like he stunk all day and I can't believe Diggs is still out there, any of that nonsense. No, he just was kind of low energy. There was a lot of runs that got past him, and then you saw a lot of the other Seahawks in pursuit, and he was kind of jogging.
Yeah.
And look, he's a little bit older player coming off injury and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that he's a guy that is a low motor guy, right? And consistently does that sort of thing. This might have been an off day, man. And I think I have no doubts that that's going to be corrected easily by himself. He probably doesn't even need to be told.
Right.
Yeah.
He wasn't super happy after the game, obviously, because I saw the quotes coming out of the game because a lot of times the reporters will tweet out the quotes of the guys at the podium. And I hadn't yet watched the press conferences. And I had seen that Quandre said that we're not that, obviously we're not that good. And then I heard him in the press conference and he was saying, obviously we're not that good. Inflection matters a little bit.
It does. Yeah. That's why I hate texting.
I just didn't expect it to be that big of a deal coming off the game against the Broncos. But gosh, based on, I don't know if you've seen any of the conversation between Sherman and KJ Wright.
Mm-hmm. Saw a little.
It meant something to those guys for sure to get the win. And so you knew that it meant something to Pete. And obviously that filters out to everybody on the team. Not a ton of those guys left really that played in that same era as Russ and the Legion of Boom, but I think it had an impact.
And I think in a weird way, emotionally, for a lot of the veterans on the Niners, when Trey goes down and Jimmy comes in, I think that's probably an emotional boost for them.
Oh, you could see it too. Clearly, they were fired up for Jimmy.
I mean, clearly, right now, at this moment in time, Jimmy G, even before Trey broke his ankle, but going into that game, Jimmy G is the better NFL quarterback at that moment. And because, they, like Colin said in his show, they were in the teaching business and then Jimmy comes in. Now they're in the winning business, right?
Yeah.
And those guys were fired up to have a dude out there that they thought gave them the best chance to win.
Well, you could say the same thing for the Seahawks at positions like corner. Is Justin Coleman a better cornerback than Kobe Bryant right now? I'd say yes. Is Sidney Jones a better cornerback than Tariq Woolen? Probably. But it's those young guys that you want out there learning because you think that ultimately they're going to eclipse the guys that are there, the veteran guys that are there.
Absolutely. And that's why I guess I really wasn't that upset about this game. I don't have huge expectations. It still looked like a team that's a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 win team, somewhere in there, right? They didn't look like the Jags last year or, somebody like that, right? Like you've seen legit terrible teams, 0-16 Lions, and you're like, oh my God, they can't even, snap the ball correctly. That's not what this team looked like on Sunday. So I'm not super worried that way. And that kind of brings me to a lot of the weird comments I've seen come out from different fans and different writers and stuff. Just like I saw one, it was like, oh, Pete Carroll's turned DK Metcalf into a check down machine. What's the point of even having him? Trade him away. Right. Or this is all Pete's fault. Get rid of him. Like blah, 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 blah. Dudes, this is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Pete's not going anywhere for another 2 years after this one. So get used to it. They chose Pete and not Russ. That's what the entire organization did. And they all did it knowing that this year was going to be a little rougher than maybe some others. So the idea that they're going to get rid of, and then on top of that, like I heard something, well, you trade DK, get all the picks, raise the team down to the ground. It's like, well, okay. Then you draft that quarterback. Great. And now you have a garbage team around him.
Right.
And he gets beat the hell up like Trevor Lawrence or David Carr.
Yeah.
You end up with David Carr disease. Like, no, I would much rather keep a quality team going, still be able to draft that quarterback next year, and have some weapons for him to work with. I just don't understand the mentality.
Oh, and the other thing, too, if you move on from DK, where do you think the double team is going rather than DK? They're going to use that other guy to send after the quarterback. Then you're really going to be struggling, or they're going to have another guy in to defend against the run. It's going to be that much more difficult. Or they're going to focus more on Tyler Lockett, who probably benefits from having a little bit extra attention to DK. And you saw him have a big day, over 100 yards against the Niners. So, yeah, I think if you were to move on from that piece, you're creating other problems for yourself. And also the problem of, I don't know, having to use one of those draft picks to replace DK Metcalf.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just it's a weird thought process that I don't quite understand. But hey, whatever, man. I teach their own. I get it. But yeah, man, Pete's just not going anywhere. So if for everybody that wants Pete fired still, you're in for a disappointing 3 years.
They're going to at least get through this year because this is a transition year away from your quarterback. And then, yeah, they're probably going to give him next year too. If they draft a quarterback, they're going to say, 1 year with a rookie quarterback, that one doesn't really count.
And then that third year, they're going to be like, well, don't change everything on a rookie quarterback and bring in a whole nother staff. They need stability to be able to go ahead and prosper going forward. So that's 3 years right there, which I think is concurrent with his contract.
And then probably the new owners come in and then they clean house and they do what they want with the team.
Or things are going well, and Pete says, yeah, I'd like to stick around, break the oldest coach record, win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, I could see him wanting to break the oldest coach record. Pete's competitive like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, everybody, Pete's a dinosaur and his philosophy stinks and blah, 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 blah. Well, hotshot young Kyle Shanahan just beat us playing Pete ball. Is he a dinosaur?
And the Philadelphia Eagles are one of the top teams in the league right now with, 4 running backs in the backfield.
Yeah, exactly. It hurts.
I don't know if that was meant to be a pun, but.
Well, yeah, Hurts tweeted out after the game, it hurts, don't it?
Hurts donuts.
Yeah.
You know what else is good? This would probably go well with a Hurts donut. Actually,
yes.
The sweet, sweet taste of severed lime liquid death.
There you go. Yeah, I had my first yesterday. And
the lime or your first liquid death?
Both the lime and my first liquid death, and then I had the non-flavored sparkling one.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, it is freaking delightful. And I love that it comes in a Tolly. Like, I guess I didn't realize that part of it. Because one of my biggest complaints about the other sparkling waters and stuff that I do drink a lot of.
Oh, they're just short cans.
They're just a short can. So I'm blowing through cans like this. This is so much better. I'm really excited about that aspect of it. And it's legit good. I can say that.
Legit good. Comes in a tall boy can. It brings death to plastic bottles. And
sure does.
They donate 10% of the profits from every can sold to help kill plastic pollution.
Which is super sweet. It's one of those things that probably 15 years ago, if we were thinking about it, most people would be like, well, yeah, plastic's better than metal. Like that's got to be terrible for the environment, metal cans and stuff. No, that stuff actually goes away, over a few thousand years at the worst, let alone if it's recycled, right?
Right.
Plastic, nah, dude, that's going to be here until the sun envelops the earth.
That reminds me, I was just looking at Finding Mastery, Michael Gervais, who we've talked to through the podcast, but who's the sports psychologist for the Seahawks. I haven't listened to the interview yet, but the title of the episode was Plastic Recycling Doesn't Work and Will Never Work.
Yeah. So, yeah. Have you ever looked into that?
No, I'm probably going to hear about it when I listen to this next episode, though.
Oh, yeah. Plastic recycling is a gigantic scam.
And Liquid Death knows it, which is why
absolutely
it comes in a can. If you want some Liquid Death, you can go to your local Albertsons, Fred Meyer, Target, or Chevron Extra Mile. Or you can find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/Hakra. That's liquiddeath.com/Hakra, HAWKRA. All right, let's get into this game coming up between the Seahawks and the Falcons. The Seahawks coming back home. Is the crowd going to have the same kind of impact against the Falcons as they did the dirty Broncos?
I don't know. Mariota is a robot, so I'm not sure that it matters too much. But, I mean, basically, you're playing the 49ers light, right?
That's probably pretty accurate because they have some guys on the defensive line that you have to worry about. Their linebackers are good. They're not that great on the outside with their corners. Well, although Terrell's pretty good. Which I would expect AJ Terrell going up against DK Metcalf in this game.
Good luck with that.
He's a physical player. I kind of like him.
Sure.
Grady Jarrett is the dude up front that you got to worry about, obviously.
Hey, if it's just all we can hope for with Jarrett is that it's not his one game a year.
Yeah, he actually had a pretty good game against the Rams, so maybe we're due for a little bit downtrend after that game.
Because often his seasons look really great, and usually it's all inflated by one huge game and then a bunch of okay.
It's the Chandler Jones factor.
It's the exact factor that, it's the Jarrett Jones factor.
I'm actually watching the game of the Falcons against the Rams. Now, they didn't score a ton of points early on, but I do kind of like Drake London, their rookie receiver. Okay. Kyle Pitts, who they have at tight end, is really good. So I like their weapons at receiver. They have Cordero Patterson, who is their own running back, who is their a former wide receiver, except they don't even, it's not like with Debo where they actually split him out wide sometimes. Cordero's, I feel like, just straight running back at this point. I don't even know why he gets to wear 84 still.
Hey, I don't mind. I actually really like Cordero Patterson. I think he's a heck of a player and somebody to be wary of, and kind of in that same body type of Derrick Henry, not as thick, but he's a big dude.
He's tall. Yeah.
Yeah, that exactly. And when you think about it, I mean, Arthur Smith, he came from the Titans. And so they kind of run in that scheme and everything, very run centric, a lot like the Niners. I mean, it's a little bit of a blend of both those offenses and aren't a great matchup for us right now. I think we're built more to rush the passer and play too deep than we are to take on a team that will bludgeon you to death. And while they're going to try that, they're obviously not as talented up front as the Niners.
I felt like their offensive line, though, held their own against the Rams pretty well. So that concerned me a little bit, that we didn't see quite the day that we, might expect from a Rams defensive line. It was pretty wild how close this game ultimately was. And just the Falcons' ability to come back late too. They should have won that game. If Mariota just throws that last pass a little bit lower, I know maybe he was worried that the linebacker was going to turn around and try and bat it down too. Throws it just a little bit too high. But yeah, if he places that ball a little bit better, the Falcons come back and they win that game.
Mariota is better Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I'll tell you what, the Pitts matchup against our linebackers terrifies me.
That is terrifying.
It genuinely does.
I have no idea what they're going to do in terms of either covering Pitts or, taking on Patterson as a running back either. I think that's, because once he gets to the second level is where he becomes more dangerous. So, yeah. The one thing, though, they found the perfect position for Cordero because he went out on like a couple of 3-yard routes and dropped the ball. Like, that dude cannot catch. There's a reason why he is not playing receiver anymore.
Yeah, that was the big knock on him early in his career and all that stuff. So, hey, at least he realized that he was a running back instead of a wide receiver, unlike Debo, who can't seem to get that figured out. But he's good at what he does. I'm hoping maybe the Seahawks play a little bit more big dime, right, with Ryan Neal. and hope that he can be a coverage difference maker on Pitts, because he's a monster.
Pitts definitely has me worried in this game. I think Neal, if he could be a factor, because Jones is a little bit too undersized to take him on, unless maybe they bring
He's a tall guy.
Unless maybe they're having Sidney Jones maybe play more inside instead of Kobe in this game.
I don't know that that's his forte.
I don't either, but I just don't really know who else that would have that size that would be able to make that matchup work. And maybe Kobe can do it.
Sure. We're going to have to see some improvement that we haven't totally seen yet, but I did like Kobe's attitude later in the game. He dang near had a pick, and he was talking all the noise, and that's what you got to be as a corner, right? You can't dwell on what's happened in the past only right then and all that. And
he has plenty of practice being thrown at from his days in college, because that's all he got.
Yeah, I like his mental makeup a lot, so it should be interesting. This isn't a great matchup, and honestly, this is a game they could easily lose.
It's going to be close, and so that's why I hope that the crowd can have an impact on Mariota, because obviously it didn't hurt him playing LA. They actually, the Falcons stayed on the West Coast. They're practicing in Husky Stadium here this week leading up to the game.
Yeah. Okay. So they, their first game was Bucks or Saints? Saints?
Falcons. Yeah. Saints. Yes. Saints. Because they had the close big lead and then they gave it up to the Saints. Right. I'd almost rather give up a lead to the Falcons than play from ahead against the Falcons.
Not with this team. No, thank you. Nope. I would much rather get out ahead early, or at least keep it close. They cannot get down 3 scores early. You just can't.
Not do it. 3. No. But the Falcons are known to blow big leads too. So it's sure. I'm not going to feel as though we're out of it.
Different regimes, different quarterbacks. I mean,
it's a franchise curse, Adam. I don't know how to explain it. It's just there.
Maybe it is. I'm sure it's not as powerful as the Let's Ride curse. I know that for a fact as I see this season starting to unfold. But I do think that this team has played very competitively in its 2 games coming into the Seattle matchup here, and they're not to be taken lightly, especially at this point in this team's development.
No, I expect the Falcons to be very competitive. It's not going to be a pushover game. Like I think a lot of us looked at the schedule and thought, oh, well, what are the Falcons going to be this year? Mariota is a serviceable starting quarterback in the NFL, and they've got nice pieces around him. And I feel like that they've been running the ball better than they have the last couple of years, which is one of the big things that really hurt Matt Ryan when he was quarterbacking the Falcons. So
that's what hurt Matt Ryan?
Well, and age and being mediocre.
Oh, I was just going to go with inability, but yeah, however you want to put it.
He's really bad now. Colts fans. Ooh, sorry.
That's hilarious. Like, everybody says the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. Like, I mean, what are they doing?
Yeah. If you're the Colts, let's just keep bringing in retread quarterbacks in their late 30s and see how it works out.
Oh, well, Tom Brady's played into his 40s. These guys got a ton left in the tank.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
No, it's just kind of funny to watch that unravel the way it is. And then to see Wentz go out and actually perform fairly decently for the Washington team.
That's pretty wild.
The Commanders.
You don't have the Commanders down yet?
I can't stand the name. I wanted to touch back on some of the things that I had seen in comments and stuff before the game with the 49ers by 49ers fans. Watched a Shanahan and a Trey Lance interview or presser. And in the comments, this is something that Niners fans were saying going into this game a lot. So kind of their little like let's ride-ish kind of catchphrase. It's now the Trey area.
The Trey area.
The Trey area. How freaking douchey.
You know what? I think I'll take Trey area over Bang Bang Niner Gang.
Oh God, that sounds like a bad prison joke. No, that's terrible.
Why can't you just stick with the faithful?
Maybe it's a little too squeaky clean for them. They got to conjure up something that sounds a little not good.
Yeah.
Bang Bang Niner Gang. Gross.
Let's get to the second half of the show. Before we get into some of the other NFC West talk here in the second half, I do have a news item, especially an important one for game day. For those of you going to the game, westbound I-90 is going to be closed on Sunday, which is a terrible idea, but I guess they need to do road work. And so you're going to have to take either I-405 to go around the lake or the SR 520 floating bridge. No I-90 going to the game on Sunday. It's not going to open up until 5 a.m. on Monday.
That's where they're working on I-90 right there. I can tell you from vast amounts of experience that is not even close to the worst part of I-90. Like there's that whole section from about Kellogg to the top of Lookout Pass that could use some attention. I'm just saying.
Well, I think that's in Idaho, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, but it's a federal freeway through multiple states.
Gotcha.
And I've driven it all the way from Rochester, New York to where it terminates at I-5. But good heads up, though. I didn't know you'd become a traffic reporter.
As a season ticket holder, you get these emails. And I thought, oh, this would be worth passing on to people if they hadn't heard. They decide to go to the game, and then they're shocked to find out that, hey, I can't go this way. It might take you a little bit longer to get to the game, so leave early.
Makes sense.
Because we need you there. We're going to need the fans to bring the noise against the Falcons.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that you took away from that Monday night from all the players and the coaches and everything was just, yeah, they felt like the 12s had their back. It was a big deal.
Another guy who I want to make sure that we have his back coming up in a couple of weeks as he goes into the Ring of Honor. Shaun Alexander announced as the Ring of Honor inductee. He's going to be going in about a month on October 16th in the game against the Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
Did you see the video of him? They did a little video of they lied to him, essentially. They lied to Shaun Alexander and said he was doing a video for Ken Walker, and that's what had the film crew there, and they filmed him getting the announcement from the team president, and it was a nice little surprise.
Well, that's a nice thought, and I am happy for Shaun, and I hope that he enjoys the moment.
I feel like just as you could put in the whole Legion of Boom from the Super Bowl era, the early Super Bowl era, you have Walt, Hutch, Shaun, Matt. Like those guys are what made Daryl Jackson even. Those guys made that team work on offense. And as much as you give grief towards Shaun, Maurice Morris was not the same guy running behind that offensive line.
I haven't said one ill word against Shaun Alexander as you announced
People
that he is
can't
going
see your
into the
face,
Ring of Honor.
And I see you doing the Bambi treatment of if I'm not going to say anything nice, I'm not going to say anything at all.
It's good advice.
I see what you're doing.
It's good advice. I just I was following my Disney childhood advice right there.
Exactly.
And it's serving me well right now. No Shaun slander. I didn't say one thing.
I'd like to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Hugh comes in at Lloydzilla on Twitter, says, another British phrase is after the Lord's Mayor's show comes the catfish. And that is most apt this week. Everything that went well last time out did not this time. Silly penalties, even those PI calls are bull catfish. We gave the ball away, we didn't run the ball, and the play calling was ordinary at best. However, we were going to get weeks like this, and Pete, talking of letting Geno loose is a scary yet intriguing prospect, so we shall see. Looking at the matches this week for the Pick'em League, can I really pick the Whiners versus the Ruscos as like the film strapline for the film Alien versus Predator? Whoever wins, we all lose. Keep up the awesome work. Go Hawks from you.
Excellent movie reference to, I mean, it was like Satan's Super Bowl the other year when it was Niners and Rams in the NFC Championship game.
I know who I'm rooting for. Well, I know what I'm rooting for in this game between the Niners and Broncos. Sure. I'm rooting for the better draft pick. And so I want the Broncos to lose.
Let's go bang, bang, Niner gang.
Why don't we drive down to the Trey area and
we'll go root for the Niners, have some wine and cheese at the tailgate in the Trey area.
So this game is actually going to be in Denver. Now, I don't know if that's going to work out in the Niners' benefit somehow. I mean, Russell Wilson has been booed now in 2 straight games, one by Seahawks fans and one by his own fans. As he's 2 for 2 on the season in boo games.
His fans back in Seattle booed the hell out of him. And now
classless Denver Bronco fans.
Right. How dare they? How dare they? It's interesting to see the national conversation around how this team is performing. And I don't know about you, Brandon, but to me, it seems like it's Nathaniel Hackett that's getting the hatchet job a lot more than Russ.
Well, the thing is yes, Broncos fans, if you continue to boo your coach, it's okay, because Russ will just get another one next year.
That's exactly right. Yep. To go ahead and coach his declining skill set that is on full display. It's very interesting to see the fact that, at least to this point, second half of the season, Russell Wilson decided to just open up the season this way. And it's interesting to see many of the things that we had talked about over the years, and especially going into this offseason, about Russ's game, not change, come completely to fruition, and everybody is somehow shocked.
Well, the one thing that I am shocked by, though, is why in this new Hackett offense for the Broncos, why can't Russ set his feet before he throws the football? Like, is that something that Hackett coaches him to do? Or is that a Russ thing?
I think he's getting older and he's starting to not like getting hit, which is part of the reason why he was trying to get out of Seattle, right? And then he found that, oh, my stars, Garrett Bowles and more cushion for the push and berry isn't any better than the situation that I just had.
I did see, though, that the Broncos offensive line has ranked out well in terms of, whether it's Pro Football Focus metrics or whatever advanced analytics, is that the Broncos offensive line has not been dinged.
Okay. Maybe it looks worse because Russ is still bailing out of pockets for no reason.
That could be.
That's it. My favorite among the national media are all the dudes that are like, and now Russ just refuses to run. He just isn't doing it now. When
He's
does this
34
happen?
years old.
He hasn't been doing it for 2 years.
I guess that part of it isn't as surprising to me. It's more of the, why are they not running the football more? And why is Russ not setting his feet before he throws these even little short passes? Like, he's just trying to wing it sidearm out to the flat. You still have to have technique for those throws, Russ.
My favorite is the idea that how come they're not running the ball more? Javonte Williams is a beast, which he is. I just don't understand it. Why aren't they running the ball more? And then you got Hackett coming out in his presser and being like, well, quote, it's all about Russ.
Yeah.
So maybe, and then he'll give lip service to the idea that maybe they should run it more in the red zone, which is exactly Bronco Jared's giant criticism of all of this. He's like watching the Texans stuff. He's like, wait, and then we threw. And, a lot of the Broncos fans are like, well, is, just a couple inches here, a couple inches there, whatever, blah, 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 blah. You haven't scored a red zone TD, bud. You haven't done it. Close or not close, it hasn't happened. That's once a coincidence, twice a trend, 3 times a you problem. We're going on what, 12? 12 times or whatever it is? You tell me what the problem is. They're not going to run the ball more. The whole point of Russ going there was to cook.
To be part of the show. And it definitely seems like the coach has no interest in taking charge at all.
Nope. At all. No. And the weirder part to me is that Russ doesn't appear to have any interest of taking charge in situational football moments.
No. Which is weird too.
Yeah.
That's part of it, I feel like.
He just wants to lead in the hokey ways, like yell run or pass to the defense.
What was the deal?
Gotta commit to it.
What was the deal with that?
I don't know.
Sherm and KJ both seemed very turned off by that.
Yeah, that was the one part of that conversation that I caught. And they're like, yeah, you stop doing that in like Pop Warner. Like, Even if you are all doing it, guess what we hear? Not you. The fans are loud. Like, we don't hear if you guys are yelling run or pass. Doesn't help us. By that time, if you're playing in the NFL, if it's a run or a pass. Like, that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't Russ
no,
be
you have to call it out. Russ says you have to call it out.
It's just so bizarre. Shouldn't he concentrate more on, I don't know, getting his completion percentage above 50%?
Weird. It's a weird.
Doesn't look good. I think Hackett's getting the hatchet job unfairly here. Russ's look worse to me than Hackett has, and that's saying something.
My big worry, though, is that we get to the middle of the season and we just come to the realization that Pete and Russ really needed to be together for everything to work. And I don't think it could ever happen to where it could come back. But, after a terrible first half of the season, maybe the Broncos would be willing to take a third or a fourth round pick for the Seahawks to take that salary off their books.
Maybe. I can tell you where Bronco fan heads are at right now, because Jared and I wake up Monday morning at 5 a.m. to begin our drive back to Montana. And I'm rubbing the blurriness out of my eyes and rolling out of bed. And he comes walking out of the bathroom. And the first thing he says to me is he just looks at me and goes, God, I hope Russell Wilson doesn't suck now. Like, he is super worried. I think they'll get it together a little bit.
I think they will too. I don't want it to be terrible for Russ. I just want it to be enough for him to, I don't know, be humbled a little bit, I guess.
And I think it's happening. And I think the Let's Ride curse is in full effect. The Let's Ride curse went something like this, right? Like, all right, you poached our dude. I hope you guys have terrible team success and people don't get hurt. Like, that's the Let's Ride curse for 1 year. That's it. And man, it is rearing its ugly head early and often, and not getting enough credit for the # Let's Ride curse.
I know. I did a search for # Let's Ride curse out on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And it's like just a few people. We have not, it has not caught fire yet on Twitter.
Maybe people will be slow in the uptake, but it's happening, man. And think about all of the people that were like, ooh, let's ride. That's so fun. Like early when that workshop focus group nonsense came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And think this back to this last week of commentary. Is it viewed in a positive light or is it a punchline now?
Well, I think it started to get to punchline status when all of the college players were doing it as part of their video after the Russ video came out. So it already started to trend that way.
And now people are going to start to realize that it is indeed a curse. It is. And it's happening. They look god awful.
They did. I know some people who aren't god awful. It's our members of the flock. They are god awesome.
Yeah, they're saints.
Can we make god awesome a saying, or is it already?
# god awesome.
I know some people I'd be using it around. It's our executive producers, DCH, Dustin Mock, Brian Shaw, and Rebecca Christensen. We've also got a new member of the flock, Jacob Luton, coming in for $12 for the year. Welcome to the flock to Jacob.
Is that like former quarterback Luton? Jake Luton?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It has the same name as there.
Here's the thing. If it's not quarterback Jake Luton, like there's a pretty good chance that Jacob Luton might be the better Luton.
I bet Jacob Luton, our listener, could throw a better ball than DJ Dallas.
Yeah, with his left hand.
Laura also coming into the flock at $3 a month. Welcome to the flock to Laura.
Heck yeah, Laura. Welcome to the Pick'em League. One of these days I'll begin to participate on the regular.
Did you not get your picks in again?
No, I totally forgot, dude. It's been a wild week, man.
That's what you said last year. And then you're like, I'm going to be so much better this year because I'm going to make sure I got my team name. It's the same. See?
Yeah, I know. I'm failing so far. I even set an alarm on my phone that didn't go off. So maybe I screwed that up.
All right. Give me your picks. Let's go.
Oh, I don't know. I was just going to take the L this week.
No.
If you want to go through it, we can do it.
We'll go through it.
That feels a little cheaty.
Well, you know what? I'll disqualify you from the prizes. How about that?
Oh, fair. Yeah. I wasn't going to get any anyways. I would have gotten a ton wrong this week.
It was a rough week for just about everybody this week.
Yeah.
And 50% of the co-hosts this week.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go through it. Chargers, Kansas City. Who did you have?
I'd have had Chargers.
Okay. Carolina, New York Giants.
I'd have had Carolina.
Indy, Jayville.
I'd have had Indy.
Miami, Baltimore.
I'd have had Baltimore. I would have.
Okay.
I'm being dead honest.
I think I can understand why you're just okay with passing on this week. New England, Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I'd have had New England.
Jets, Cleveland.
I would have had Cleveland.
Tampa Bay, New Orleans.
I would have had Tampa.
Washington, Detroit.
I'd have had Detroit.
Atlanta, Rams.
I'd have had the Rams.
You would have had Seattle, Arizona, Las Vegas.
I'd have had Raiders.
Man, that game. Arizona should have lost that game. What were the freaking Raiders doing?
I don't know, but do you want time to talk about it? Like, we could sit and try to figure it out in the time that it took Kyler to scramble that TD, and we could probably have a 15-point discussion on it during that time.
That was a wild play. Holy smokes. How did the Raiders let that happen?
I don't know, dicks. God, that made me so mad. What this week was last week was so amazing, right?
Yeah.
We were the only team to win. The rest of them lost. And then in true, yin yang, the world balances itself out style, we take the only L and all the other Satan's teams won. Stupid Racka.
All tied now in the NFC West. All tied up.
Yep.
Cincinnati, Dallas.
I'd have had Cincy.
Man, they stink starting off the season.
Yeah.
Houston,
Yeah.
Denver.
I would have had Denver.
Chicago, Green Bay.
I'd have had Green Bay.
Yeah, and Houston not helping us out at all. Score a freaking touchdown out of one of those possessions, and you're in control of that game.
God, no kidding.
Titans, Buffalo. Would have had Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Minnesota, Philly.
I'd add Minnie.
Yeah. I made a mistake and picked Minnesota too. I thought that Cousins would be over his
Up and down
primetime
nonsense
issues.
and Monday night football grossness.
Yeah.
Nah, that's
dude,
a thing.
You're in your mid-30s. Like, that should not create any kind of issues for you at this point in your career.
No, but it does. I mean, it's just a thing. It's just a thing. Like, that's why I think you just don't bet Kirk Cousins on a Monday night. You just don't do it. That's a rule.
Yeah, I should know by now. I should know better.
Yeah.
Looking at the standings now that Adam,
I was gonna say you gotta figure I was pretty honest about my picks.
you were, and
Okay.
I think you were pretty well on par with a lot of the. You ended up with 7 picks, which I'm seeing a lot of 6s.
That's more than I expected.
I'm seeing a lot of 6s and 7s. We'll go through the top 5, although there's a lot of people at 5. Okay. But number 1 right now, Ben, our longtime listener with Suck for Luck, is at the top with 21 points. We've got I'm Just Here So I Don't Get Fined at 20. Keep Flocking at 20. Your Puna Ford Dealer. Also Casey Hawk.
I like that one.
And here I am in the top 5 with 19 points.
You or the team name is Here I Am?
No, that's me. I'm the Blue Food.
Okay. That's a name?
Wait, you of all people should recognize that reference for as much as we talk about this particular comedian. It's a George Carlin reference. Yeah, have you not heard his joke about Blue Food?
No, that's a skit I'm unfamiliar with, and I'm very familiar with most of his skits.
It's one of his early ones.
Oh, well, shoot. I guess I'm not hipster enough to know.
Go look it up.
You knew it before everybody else. You thought George Carlin was cool before everybody else did. You weren't even born yet, and you thought George Carlin was cool, you hipster.
Yep.
Yeah.
You go look it up. Just I think you can YouTube Blue Food and it probably pops up.
Oh, I'm sure. One of my favorites.
And it's Seahawks related
is
because it's blue. I feel like it's a
it.
good crossover.
Look, okay, so after making fun of you about it and you explaining it to me, I have to take the L there and apologize. You were right, and I was wrong.
Okay,
that's an excellent name.
I feel maybe if I have to explain it, maybe it's not an excellent name.
No, that just means that people like me are just too dumb to get it. Like, I'm just an idiot, and that's fine. I can accept that.
All right, so who was the top person for week 2, though?
You know, my favorite George Carlin skit is the one where he talks about the airplane speech, because traveling so much and hearing it so much, like the amount of nonsense language, because that was the great thing about George, right? Like, he'd always point out nonsense language. And boy, the pre-flight speech is just full of them. And it's great. If you haven't seen that one, Blue Food in the pre-flight airline speech, look it up.
There you go.
Did you get it sorted?
I did. Thank you. Thanks for stressing that out. Meet My Calf was the winner this week with 12 points. But because we did have a Seahawks loss this week, I do have to go back and double check. I hate that I have to do this. And yes, Meet My Calf did not cheat and go against the rules this week. So a legit 12 points to win the week.
Yeah. Tip of the cap to your lower leg, my man. Yeah.
And you are the winner.
Or maybe you have a baby cow. I don't know.
Could be either one.
Yeah.
But Meet My Calf, you are the winner for this week, and you can pick from some of the Lauren Taylor artwork that I have. I'm a little bit low in terms of the Seahawks artwork that's left, but there's some Seattle artwork. There's some movie-based artwork, and there's a DK Metcalf photo that I also have as part of that.
Well, that would work for Meet My Calf.
I feel like it would. So
yeah,
you can choose. You can choose from that, or if you're a card collector and maybe you want a nice DK Metcalf rookie card, you get a $20 gift card to the card of your choice at Flathead Sports and Hobby Cards. All you have to do is reach out to Ben, and that goes for anybody who's listening. If you want sports cards at a great price, you can have your favorite player shipped to you. All you do, reach out to Ben. Flathead Sports and Hobby Cards. Find them on Facebook, facebook.com/FHSH cards, and they'll hook you up.
That's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what they pick.
I am too. For the winner, go to me first, and I'll put you in touch with Ben if you decide to go the card route.
Okay.
For the gift card.
Do you have any knee-high socks?
Maybe.
That way you can cover his calf when you meet it.
Maybe the calves should be exposed.
Ooh, maybe they're that kind of calf.
I haven't seen it.
The good calves. Well, you haven't met them yet.
Right.
It's an invite.
Send a picture of your calves. I can determine, what we're looking at here.
All right.
We don't need to do that.
No. You don't need an inbox full of weird pictures of people's calves. Your wife is going to start to wonder what you're into, man.
Some people are into feet. I'm into really nice calves.
Right? No, you're just a little above Rex Ryan.
I was also on the latest episode of How Bizarre, talking Seahawks last week. Yeah, went on, talked with Christopher and Ron and the crew. Going back to our first season, it was our first season that we had Christopher on from when they were Tales from the Space Pod. And
that's right.
We've stayed in touch ever since. So,
heck yeah, man. Those guys, they're a good crew, man. That's a fun podcast. If you're just looking for, they kind of remind me of the old Coast to Coast AM show, like late at night.
Yeah.
On the radio, where they kind of talk about all the wiggy stuff.
Although,
it's great.
Although maybe not, especially as they've all grown older, maybe not as bought in as the Coast to Coast show was.
No.
But in a more fun way.
Yes. Yeah. I was just thinking like the subject matter.
Right.
Yeah.
So check that out. How Bizarre Podcast. And what do you say we get into our mailbag?
Yeah.
If you want to be a part of the mailbag, you can go to seahawkerspodcast.com, click on the contact link, or you can email gohawks@seahawkerspodcast.com. Or if you're a member of the flock, shoot a message through Patreon at getintheflock.com. Got one here from the Bard. He heard our call last week.
John always hears our call.
He always does. He says, "Hi, fellas. The Bard and his wife are in Portugal, somewhere on the Algarve coast. Look it up, Adam. It's 17 minutes from the United Kingdom. And it's a sunny afternoon. And I'm on a sunbed. And the muse has just taken me. I was all set up last night with my iPad and Sky Go, the app, as we were on TV. Gadzooks. The Sky app does not work well in Portugal, so I couldn't watch it."
Something about the Portuguese cookies or something?
Who knows? I had to resort to latest scores on my phone, but it's taped for when I get back home. Thinking so far, I would have been happy for us to go 0-2, and then you could have stopped the season. I was so relieved last week that we shut Russ up and got a little carried away, but was brought down to earth with a bump. Luddy told me we'd lose last week when I was chatting to him, and I should have listened. I thought if we put our fear of God into Trey Lance, we had a chance, but he was so scared he injured himself and went off. I then walked from Portugal to Hong Kong and had a chat as it was only 17 minutes door to door. So now I'm mused and declare that if we get to 3-1, I'll end the season. It's only Atlanta and Detroit, and we can see them off. Detroit Barry, for catfish sake, going to lie back down and muse and have another Sagres, Portuguese beer. Go Hawks from the Bard. I think I could tell that John was drinking a little heavy in that email.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was such a jet setter, out on the beaches of Portugal. I mean, that's some high living right there. I wonder if Portuguese beer is any good.
I can't say that I've ever had it.
No, me neither.
Now we know what to look for, though. Sagres.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you go to Brazil or Portugal first? You have to know Portuguese either way. But where would you go first?
I think I'd go Brazil.
I don't know. So
I want to see the famous statue.
It's a little more exotic and all that stuff, right? But there's a lot more snakes there. So
that's what you would be worried about. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Dustin, our executive producer, wrote in, says, I feel bad
How come you didn't lead with that? How do you do Dustin this way?
Saving it for the end.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
He says, I feel bad for Broncos fans because, for us, sure, it's not fun to watch lose, and it's heartbreaking to watch us get run over, but at the end of the day, a worse record is better for our franchise at the stage we're in, and we can take heart in the small wins, such as improvements from certain players and finding players that will be on the team a long time. Broncos have to win right now. They are out of time. It doesn't matter if their CB3 looks like he could be a CB1 in 2 years. They got to go. There is nothing to be happy about over there. Also, Nathaniel Hackett was one of 2 people that blundered the time away at the end of our game and is responsible for making sure play calling doesn't go to catfish. But the Broncos are doing really good at everything that doesn't require Russ to do anything good. Their run game is scary, and their screen game is creative and on point as hell. Their issue is they throw north of the line of scrimmage too damn much, especially in the red zone. Well, we did punk 2 runs in the red zone. Yet, Hackett is getting talked about like he's this bumbling fool.
Yeah, Dustin and I see it a little the same. I mean, I think Hackett's taken a little too much of this, but, talking with Bronco Jared on this trip, he's like, look, we have a 3-year window. And going into this season, I would have agreed with him. Mm-hmm. I would have thought this year was going to be a struggle. Year 2 is when they could really make some noise. And then by year 3, maybe, if Russ can find one last year of magic, and they're locked in for 7 years. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the part of it. I mean, oh my gosh, what a disaster. And ownership didn't even bring these guys in.
Right. But they did pay Russ. I mean, it was under the new ownership that they made that choice to pay him.
Well, it sounded like they rolled back the price of that contract just a little bit too, compared to the Watson deal. So
still, pretty heavy contract, which they didn't need to do. He was still under contract for a couple of years.
But Team 3 said you needed to do it. And Team 3's calling all the shots around there.
I should have clipped some quotes of Hackett coming out of that, but we're not a Broncos show.
We are this year. I mean, we are. In next year, we're not going to have their draft picks, so it's really not going to matter that much. But this year, every Broncos game, win or lose, affects us directly.
It does. I didn't want to outplay their coach over playing clips of our coach from this past week, and it just didn't seem right.
He's so stupid. It's so much more entertaining.
Yeah, it is entertaining. Okay. I may have, if I get some more, especially the amount of doting over Russ is just something that Pete would not do. And
not later in Russ's career. You listen to Sherman and KJ talk, it sounds like early in his career, he was kid gloved all the time.
Okay, well, this is what it tells me. I think Russ may need that. Like, he may need that kind of attention and praise from the coach to be as effective as he is. And so if Pete was using that as a coaching tactic, then that's just better coaching.
So Pete always talks about you got to learn the learners.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of my favorite quotes from him that I've gotten over the years. And that really has helped me in a lot of aspects of life dealing with people. Because, yeah, you got to learn the learners. So what? Sure, he needs to have somebody be like, you're catfishing up. Do better. Like, what the hell was that? That's a bunch of catfish, you piece of crap. Like, that's Sherm.
Yeah.
Right? And that would fire him up and he would do better. I think with Russ, it would be like, right, look, you're awesome at everything. And here's the thing, like, you can be even more awesome. Here's one little thing that I would say that you missed, but here's the thing. Tom Brady misses this too. Everybody misses this. I think you can be the greatest. And here's how you do it. Like, it's just a different deal for different guys. Different guys need to be talked up different ways. I have to do it almost every weekend, every sawmill I go into. You wouldn't believe this, but that whole industry is a people industry. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we have done well is because I talk to the head filer and I know what they want to hear. I learn the learner. And I tell them what they want to hear. And I get a Facebook friend request after every freaking job. It's a running catfishing joke at this point. They all think I'm their best friend.
Yeah. Well, so.
And it's all because of Pete's quote.
So that's the one thing that bothered me a little bit about the way that KJ and Sherm were talking about, you know, just how that dynamic worked, because I feel like they should know that. And, you know, one of the big quotes that came out of the article, right, that, you know, was Sherm saying to Russ, you know, you bleeping suck. And again, that's how Sherman gets motivated himself. And so that's how he motivates other people around him. And I guess maybe he hasn't been in coaching enough to maybe feel that dynamic, but I feel like he should know that that's a dynamic that exists among people and on teams. Okay. But maybe it's more of a defensive versus, I don't know, with the way it should be versus the way it is.
Yeah. So I want you to put on your imagination hat here for a second. And imagine that you are now 26-year-old and an apex athlete that strikes the fear of God right. into the entire league. And when you go into film session, you're getting tore down while the quarterback who played well, I mean, because most of the time Russ played pretty well.
Yeah.
But he's not the best in the business at his position, gets patted on the butt and told he's the greatest. Like, I mean, at that age, you can't have that kind of perspective. I know I didn't.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And I didn't even have the excuse to have an ego the size of Texas. You know, like all those dudes from the LOB, they had to have. I would have.
Yeah, especially for guys on defense, and especially a guy like Sherm playing corner who was at the top of his position in the league.
Earl and Browner and Bam Bam.
It makes sense.
I'm sure they felt a certain kind of way.
But I would expect as he gets a little older, and maybe even now, I feel like you would start to understand that a little more. But
well,
the other thing that came out of it, though, that I thought was good that they explained was just how Russ, you know, one of the things that they said is that now that he's going to the Broncos, one of the things that we hope he learns is to be part of the team, like to really be one of the guys with the team.
So this was, I mean, Jared and I had, 8 hours in the vehicle together each way to talk about this stuff. And before this interview came out, that was one of the things that we talked about. I was like, I don't know that, because we had listened to an interview with Colin Cowherd and Peyton Manning. And Cowherd asked him a question about, you're a prep monster, you're doing all this work and da-da-da-da-da. Like, did you have to, really find time and be cognizant about having beers with the boys and doing that sort of stuff? And so we had listened to that. And I turned to Jared. I was like, I'm not sure that's Russ. I'm not that he's being aloof or that it's malicious or anything like that. I just think he's so locked in, and KJ and Sherm alluded to this, that he's just so locked in on his goals and trying to be great and, all the things which has brought him success. I think that part of things kind of goes by the wayside. And that's why I think the, run pass thing came off so odd. Like many of the things that he does when he's kind of quote unquote trying to bond with the team.
Right.
Or create camaraderie. I'm just not sure that's his forte. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing or trying to bang on him for it. Like, there's certain guys that are better with the boys and certain guys that are better at other things. Like, it's just different skills.
I think, though, that if you want to focus on being a better teammate, though, that's part of your game or part of your personality that you could work on, too.
Well, you hear all the stories about Brady, right?
Mm-hmm.
That whether it's the janitor or the GM or the owner, he knows everybody's names. He knows what's going on in their lives. He makes time to talk to everybody, even if it's just for a couple minutes. And it goes a long ways. It's a big deal.
And I could see Russ being that guy around the facility. It's just
yes, exactly,
not having the. And I don't know if Brady hangs out with his teammates that much either. That might not be that big of a deal. But you know what? He's also old enough to be most of their dads.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's almost ironic thing to have Tom Brady come out and have beers with the boys, right? Like, I can just imagine that is, it just doesn't feel like Russ's personality. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to make that a criticism.
Yeah.
It's just, it is an aspect because he is so focused and driven which has made him great. I think this is one of those things where you'd look at and be like on a flow chart or, one of those scouting report charts, right?
Mm-hmm.
The little pie chart, round pie chart thing. Yeah, he wouldn't be in the upper levels of that.
All right. What do you say we get on to some do better and better at life?
All right, man. My do better this week is for the Pendleton Roundup. Never heard of it? Yeah, me neither. I didn't know anything about it going into this week. Had no catfish clue. I wasn't even going to Pendleton. I didn't go to Pendleton this weekend. I went to a town called LeGrand, which is an hour away. An hour. Not 15 minutes. An hour away from Pendleton.
Pendleton, is that where they make those blankets?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe the Bears too. I have no idea. But show up to LeGrand like I always do when we're going to jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Roll into the Best Western because I'm a baller there. I'm a Diamond Elite Platinum big time baller for Best Western. I know it's a big deal, just so you guys know.
Show Adam the proper respect that you would give all Best Western Diamond Club members.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's such a prestigious accomplishment. And roll into the Best Western, like, hey, looking for a room. Need 2 queens because we're a couple queens. We need separate beds. Like that's how it is. She looks at me. She goes, "Oh, it's the Pendleton Roundup." It's like, and that is a what? She's like, "It's the Pendleton Roundup." Like I'm some idiot that I've never heard of the. And so I just look at it, I was like, somehow the news of the Pendleton Roundup never reached Montana.
No,
not that famous. No, I didn't know that. And she's like, "Well, let me see what I have." And I was like, "Well, even for a Diamond Elite Platinum, baller dude like me, because I'm a big deal."
Yeah, you kick somebody out of their room for a guy like me.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Right. And so she's like, "Yeah, nah. I got 1 room." I was like, "Okay. What was that running? You ready?"
Do I venture a guess?
Yeah, venture a guess.
It is the Pendleton Roundup. So
oh, sure. Yeah, it's the Pendleton Roundup. Not only were there no rooms in Pendleton, no rooms in LeGrand, which is an hour away, no rooms in Baker City, which is 2 hours away. This is the last room available in LeGrand, Oregon.
Do I get a clue? Is it at least a standard room, or are the people of the Pendleton Roundup?
It's a standard room, 1 king bed, which we will share because when this Diamond Club Elite member asked for a rollout, They didn't have those either. They should at least kick a kid off of a rollout in some other room and put him on the couch. But no.
Okay. So I'm going to go downtown Seattle prices, $360 a night.
Okay. $439 after tax.
Oh my gosh.
$439. And I get the privilege of sharing the bed with Bronco Jared. Right? Like that's the only choice. It's either that or sit in the truck all night.
You didn't even have two chairs, like two of the softer fabric chairs that you could push together?
One chair. No, there's no other option.
It was a king bed, though. You can share a king bed.
Oh, and we did.
Yeah.
We did. And I'm just going to say it. He's a terrible little spoon. He's a terrible cuddler. It wasn't any fun. So $439 for a standard room in LeGrand, Oregon. You know what? We checked in at 8 p.m. We left at 6 a.m. to go to the mill that day. That's 10 hours. 10 hours. 600 minutes. Divide that by 439 or 439 by 600. That's 73 cents a minute that I spent to be in that hotel room. I've had 1-900 calls when I was a teenager that were cheaper per minute than that. Like, how ridiculous is that? I felt like I was taken advantage of. Best Western screwed me as an elite diamond platinum badass. LeGrand, Pendleton Roundup, all that nonsense. Do better.
Well, now you have to put the Pendleton Roundup on your radar. If you can't get a room an hour out of town for cheaper than $400 a night, you know this is a big deal. And now in the future, I think we're gonna have to do a live show from the 2023 Pendleton Roundup.
Okay, we'll book the rooms now. Catfish! Damn it, otherwise we're going to be paying a lot of money.
Well, if our booking agent that emailed me could do a little bit better job and also book us a room, maybe that would help us out, because I'm not super happy with this booking agent that dropped us an email here this week, Adam.
A booking agent? What are we being booked for? Hopefully not prison.
No. So now that we've done this show for going on 10 years,
right?
I've gotten on a lot of lists for people who pitch things. And so there are people they're booking agents that are like, I have these guests that I think would be good for your show. Here's something that they said recently. Do you want to have them on the show sometime? So yeah, I mean, it works out great sometimes because you get to talk to some cool current or former players. If they're pitching something, we get little interesting nuggets of information sometimes, or, we get a cool show sponsor like Liquid Death.
Yeah.
But this week I got an email that says in the subject line, NBC Sunday Night Football's Matthew Berry tells Seattle fans, screw you guys. This is right in the subject line of the email that was sent to me. Okay. And I read through the email. It says, let me know. This is from Julie. Let me know if you're interested in sharing any of the above. And I'll redact the show name of the show that was pitching. Host name 1 and host name 2 are also available for interview to expand on any of the above topics they covered with Matthew, including the business and impact of fantasy football and sports betting and more. No, sorry, Julia. I'm not really interested in talking to your hosts who are promoting that Seattle fans go screw themselves. Why don't you reach out to any of the other teams in the NFC West, which I think I have a pretty good idea that you're a fan of. And for that, Julia, do better.
Why'd you give Julie the double birds?
Well, I didn't.
I want to talk to co-hosts of whoever. What show is this even?
I redacted the show name out of respect. I don't need. I want to keep a good relationship just in case we do in the future book these guests.
Well, why don't we just call them out right now and book them right now? Let's do it, man. I want to talk to guys that tell Seahawks fans to suck it. That'd be a good time. That's right up my wheelhouse, man.
Yeah.
Let's trash talk it out.
It might be fun. I felt, for one, are we still talking 2 weeks after we played the Broncos about how Seahawks fans booed Russell Wilson? I feel like we're past that now.
Oh, so clues dropped there. It's a Broncos podcast.
No, it was a national show.
It's a national show?
Yeah.
Great. Even better. Yeah, man. Can't wait to talk to you guys and tell you how much you can suck it because A, Russ lost. B, Russ looks like catfish in 2 weeks. And C, the Let's Ride curse is clearly in full effect. Can't wait. Let's go. Let's fly.
It is clearly in effect, which is why my, and maybe our Better at Life this week is for Denver Broncos fans.
It surely is.
Denver Broncos fans counting down the play clock as their offense and Russell Wilson is on the field. I can't believe that we never thought about this with Pete Carroll and his clock management issues in the past. This is the greatest passive-aggressive way to let your coach know that you are sick and tired of the play clock running down to 0 at the last minute and to get things in gear, get the offense on the field and out of the huddle a little bit sooner so we don't have to count down to 0.
Well, here's the thing, Brandon, because I'm going to piggyback because this is a dual Better at Life right here. It's a dual one. And here's the thing. So how many times have we been mad about the play clock running down for the Seahawks in this early season?
0.
Oh, okay. And so the guy that was always running the clock down to the end of the play clock that played for us before is now where?
In Denver.
In Denver. Oh, and so they're having problems with the play getting off late. And then you hear Hackett talk, and he's like, yeah, I could probably get the plays in just a little bit faster and everything, but we really need to work on our communication and be a little bit clearer and all that. Bam! That was a shot. I think he was saying that Russ dilly-dallies in the freaking huddle.
Uh-huh.
And I will say this in my Better at Life for Broncos fans, because they are for this, is I am totally jealous that they thought this up and we did not.
I am too.
It's really well done.
And I feel like now all of us who put this on Pete Carroll in the past, we owe Pete an apology.
Not yet.
I don't know if this was a Pete issue.
Again, I'll say it one more time this podcast because it seems to have been fitting in. Once a coincidence, twice is a trend. So when Russ is on his third team, then we'll know if it's a
with his third head coach, perhaps.
Ooh, yeah, they're probably for 240 odd some million, they're probably gonna get rid of the Hackett.
I'm telling you, I will be surprised if he makes it through. If they don't make it to the playoffs this season, I think the Broncos will have a new head coach next year.
I think that's in play. I heard some people being like, he's not even going to make it through the season if he doesn't figure all this stuff out.
No, they'll
not
get
with
the
new
season.
ownership. Like, they're not going to pull the trigger middle of the season. And Russ is playing nice at this point. Team 3 is playing nice at this point. But I could see that. Yeah. So then we'll know. We'll know. But the trend is looking one way. That is for sure. And so for Broncos fans,
for counting down the play clock and passively aggressively taunting their new quarterback, Better at Life than Skip Bayless.
Heck yeah, man. They out passive aggressive Seattle people, and that's a feat.
I can't say I ever would have thought about doing that.
No, but hilarious. And I don't know why.
Because you don't make noise when your team is on offense.
There's that. But in the NBA, they count down the shot clock a lot. They were harassing the crap out of Giannis for as long as he took on his free throws.
Those were the opponents. Those are opposing fans. Yeah.
Broncos fans are a brutal bunch, man. But I think that's because the expectations were set too high for this team this year.
Was that not part of your video, though? Did you not warn Broncos fans about
might have
play clock issues?
No, I didn't. I didn't include that. I wish I had.
Oh,
that was one of the things that I missed.
Yeah. All right.
But it's one. But I did warn them that their expectations were too high, especially in that division.
Yeah.
I mean, what I told Bronco Jared, look, if you took the Bucks and the Broncos and you swapped divisions, right? And Russ was going into the NFC South.
Oh yeah, they'd be a top 4 team in the NFC probably, and they'd probably win that. They'd probably win the South.
Yeah, exactly. I would pick them to win that division. I really would. But they're just not in that division. So
they might be better than the Raiders from what we've seen so far, but they're not better than the Chiefs or Chargers.
Is not doing well.
What?
Hottie McDaniels is not doing well.
That's a shame.
He got fat too.
Did he?
Compared to his Bronco head coaching days?
Oh, well, That's been a while. I mean, he's been in New England since then.
Oh, I know. All of our lady friends who we'd watch football with on Sunday Fun Day.
You can't call him Hottie McDaniels anymore.
Yeah, they all called him Hottie McDaniels.
I think I found out that my wife, for the first time, realized Jimmy was super handsome.
Oh, no.
I know. She's like, who's this? Who's this guy? I'm like, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been there for a while.
Well, you got nothing to worry about, Brandon. You got nothing to worry about, mainly because your wife is a very classy human who has never been a porn star. So she's probably safe from Jimmy G's attention.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.